Swin Cash, I call her Swin Cash. Swin Cash, Swin Cash, I call her Swin Cash. Swin Cash.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Swin Cash. Thank you for joining us for episode 11 of She's Got Time. Now, y'all know I'm always excited and honored for y'all to join us, so thank you. You know, I never take this for granted. I just want to thank you all for not only going to all of our social media channels at She's Got Time, but also subscribing to our YouTube channel. We love posting all this content for you all to view, and we also need your feedback. Make sure you're hitting us in the comments, letting us know what you would like to hear for the next podcast, any comments you have about the podcast we recently did. We love to interact. We love to hear from you, so make sure you are staying connected and engaged with us. We appreciate that. All right, so you know how we started every week here at She's Got Time. We do the week that was the rewind. Lord, and how can I do a rewind without talking about that Super Bowl? So it was really interesting because this past week, obviously, I didn't have to travel for work. I only had to travel one day because the Super Bowl was in Atlanta, so I didn't have to go down to Atlanta, which I was actually a little bit excited about because I got more time to spend with my son. I was able to do a few things that I had been planning to do later on in the week. But it was interesting to see the Super Bowl going on, and there was all of this kind of back and forth on social media. So if you weren't watching the Super Bowl, you still were able to get information off of social media and then some of the clips and stuff that was happening with the Super Bowl. So you had a whole group of people, obviously, that were protesting the Super Bowl for what has been happening to Colin Kaepernick and did not agree with the way the NFL has handled it and almost his blackballing, their blackballing of Colin Kaepernick not being able to have a job. So there's a whole group of people on social media that were having the hashtag I'm with Cap. And then you had another whole group of people that were at the Super Bowl that were posting and were disappointed in the game. Obviously, we don't need to go into detail about that. Probably was one of the most boring games that I've heard. It was, and people are talking about it. And also people, I think Roz, who I actually work with on The Bounce, on Yahoo Sports app, which you can download. Make sure you're tuning in to us 5 days a week, 8 to 11 p.m. But anyway, so Roz was at the Super Bowl and she's tweeting, and she actually has covered a lot of the NBA Finals, etc. And she basically was saying, I can't believe I'm at the Super Bowl, but I'm still on Twitter and social media talking to my friends. My first thought was people do that all the time, regardless. But then I started laughing because I kind of understood what she was saying, is that this was her time to be at the Super Bowl and it wasn't engaging her. So yeah, of course, the game was terrible. But on top of that, there's a whole nother group of fans that watched the game that love the commercials. They love to rate the commercials. There's also another group of fans that while they're watching the game, they're also doing commentary about the stuff that's happening, because we all know a live experience is one thing, but also to watch something live. And I've been at 2 Super Bowls when the Steelers won. Shout out to my Steelers. Lord, can y'all please get better, get back? Ugh. Don't let me even get into that. But what was so funny is that there were so many different groups of people that were on social media. And if you weren't even at the Super Bowl, you still could follow it. And so it was really interesting. I think one of the most complicated days for a Super Bowl, I would say, in a very long time, because I think people have really just gotten to a point where they want the NFL to start addressing these issues, not only with Colin Kaepernick, but the way that their players, the racism and things that social injustice that the players have been trying to get them to engage with. I think the NFL this offseason is probably going to have to take a little more time to really evaluate where they are, because I feel like they're isolating a whole population of their fan base that some people are diehard fans that haven't been willing to come back to the NFL because of what's happening. So if I was the NFL, I recommend that you hire a new team, especially it's whoever's handling your kind of community engagement and also this whole ordeal from a PR standpoint, and figure out what you can do better. So that's one of the things I learned just over the weekend and obviously the Super Bowl. Another thing I learned is that my son has figured out some new words. And it's so always fascinating, I think, for moms and for dads, is when you ask your kid a question as they're starting to learn to speak and say new words, and they respond on cue. So it's so cute for me because Saint is at that point where he's yeah and then no. And as you go into the twos, you always hear the no more than the yes. So I was asking Saint, I said, Saint, do you want to watch cartoons? And he goes, yeah. And I'm telling you, when I say I hit the floor because I was laughing so hard because he started laughing and smiling because he understood that he was able to communicate with me. So it's those small moments that I'm pretty sure a lot of you parents have experienced, but that was really, really cool for me. And what else happened this past week? Yeah, it was a slow week, and it was actually pretty good because that meant I got to get a little bit of rest, which I needed, and got an opportunity to kind of troll a little bit on social media and look at everything that was happening and where people were. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up that whole State of the Union debacle that happened. But we won't get into politics on this podcast right now because I have a lot of other things I want to get into. But I will say the women in the House of Representatives that showed up in that all white, it was beautiful to see this wave of women be able to stand up and get acknowledged for kind of being elected and having new jobs in 2019. And so for me as a woman, that was very empowering to see them stand up and be in that wave of white and what that white stood for and standing up for women's rights, equality, and so forth. So that was the week that was. Pretty cool, interesting week. A lot of different things that went on, but I was able to actually take a step back and not be in the middle of them and observe, just like you all, as fans, as a citizen of the United States of America, and get an opportunity to just see everything. So that was cool. All right, now let's move it forward. So this week on She's Got Time, I saw a really cool article, and I wanted to talk about this article because it was on parentscom, and it was called 10 Ways Moms Can Balance Work and Family. Now, keep this in mind. It says 10 ways moms can balance work and family. I'm not even going to hate on the dads that are out there because there are some single fathers that are out there that are separated parents who are divorced and single parents at the time. And so even though this article talks about the moms, we're still going to say, dads, these are still 10 tips that you also could learn from and be able to implement within your household. Cool? All right, so let's just jump right into it. The number one thing that really kind of caught my eye from the top, because we all deal with it as parents, especially working parents, is this idea of letting go of guilt. I know it's easier said than done. I've said it before in this podcast, but parents, we have to let go of the guilt. We got to let go of the guilt. And that's because you cannot move forward with anything if you're still caught into this whole idea of, I feel guilty because I'm not there with my child. I feel guilty because I'm not able to be at every practice or every game. I feel guilty because I'm getting home late and my kid's tired and ready to go to bed. Well, you know what? Sometimes those things happen, but you have to think about it this way. The most successful careers that moms have and having careers is that think about when you have that career, what that career is providing for your family, right? So you have this career, you have a job, because nowadays we see how the economy is. Everybody's talking about the economy's booming. Yeah, it's booming for some people, but not for everyone. So both moms and dads have to have jobs and able to create and provide within your family household. So you cannot feel guilty about trying to provide for not only yourself, but for your children, for your family, right? So you have to think about what that job is providing for your family. So there is a focus there. And how your role within your workplace benefits everything about your family. So the skills and the job that you're doing at work, that helps you be a better you. And that's going to help you be a better mom. It's going to help you be a better dad. It's going to help you be a better parent. All right, so let go of the guilt. Then the second thing was, you got to find quality childcare. Let me tell you why. Not only because we want your kids to be safe, absolutely, we need our kids to be safe. You got to find quality childcare. But it also helps you have a peace of mind. There's no way I could travel and go around the world, or my husband could travel for work and go around the world, if we didn't feel comfortable with the people that are caring for our child. And I would be remiss if I tried to sit up here and act like every single parent has the ability to afford great childcare, because it's not happening right now. I understand that. But you try to do the best that you can. Make sure you ask as many questions as you can. Never feel like you're asking too many questions when it comes to people that will be not only watching your kid, supervising your kid, also pouring into your kid. Because what you don't want to have is somebody that's really qualified, but they over here being negative Nancy or, negative Ned, whatever you want to call it, but they're not a positive influence in your child's life. I am one of those people that I believe when you speak certain things into existence, you have certain energies that can directly affect the person next to you. So please, whatever you do, make sure you do as much research, ask as many questions as possible, because quality child care will equal you having a little bit more peace of mind. Now, you're not going to be completely, feel carefree, but because no parent will. When your kid's not with you, there's always that little bit of, okay, are they all right? Did they fall down? What's going to happen to them? You're always worried. Like if they're at daycare, if they're at school, will I be getting a report? Something happened. They fell. I wasn't there. Were they crying? How was it? You're going to feel that. That's part of the number one. I was talking about the guilt, but you have to let it go because it's also part of their maturation process and maturing into that next phase from a toddler to a young kid to a tween to a teenager, and then they don't want to talk to you anymore until they become adults and realize everything you were saying was true. Yes, we all go through it. So the next thing, number 3, was make your mornings easy. And ladies, listen, I struggle with this the most because sometimes when I come home at night, I'm tired and I'll say, all right, I'm going to get up a little earlier. But it always takes me longer when I do not prepare the night before. This is how you can make your mornings easier. And this is one of the things that was really interesting with this article. They were talking about to make sure that you get all of your things ready the night before. And what that means is prep work. So you're prepping, whether you have to pack your kids' lunch, what are you prepping for them beforehand? Second thing, picking stuff up and placing stuff at the door. So whether it's your bag, whether it's your kid's bag, your diaper bag, whatever it is, put everything that's supposed to be in there the night before and make sure it's by the door so you don't have to worry about it at all. And lastly, make sure that you do a schedule ahead of time, right? So you're going to schedule out what the next day is going to look like. And once you have that schedule in place, you have everything prepped the night beforehand, you can sleep in a little bit longer. And also when you get up, your kid's right into a routine. It's like boom, boom, boom. I always realize whenever I kind of lay Saint's clothes out, I get his stuff prepared, it's faster for us to get out the door. Whenever I have to think a little bit more in the morning or I have to pack extra stuff. Now there's some stuff I have to either heat up the food from the night before or something that I packed, or I have to make him something real quick like some pasta or whatever to take to school. What I've realized is when I have the majority of stuff done, it's so much easier for us to get out the door. The worst thing that you possibly could do is not be prepared and then you're running behind. And I hate it when I have to run behind, but it happens to me a lot. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. My husband is a little bit more prepared than I am, but at the same time, when I'm not going to be home, one of the things that I love to do, I don't want my husband to have to think about what he needs to put on Saint. So I like to lay out the clothes. If I'm going to be gone for 2 days, what he's going to wear for the day. Where's his pajamas at? In case he has an accident, here's an extra pair of clothes. Here's some socks. Now, is my husband more than capable of doing that? Absolutely. But as a mom, that's something that I like to do and I enjoy doing because it makes me feel like I'm still connected and I'm still here. Now, everyone's different, but you have to find those moments that make you still feel like you're whole to an extent. You're still part of the process, even if you have to have your career and you're on the road and can't necessarily be there in the physical presence. All right, so number 4, create and organize a family calendar. Now, this is one of the things that has helped me not only having a child right now, but also even before I had a child, my husband and I would sync our calendars so that we knew exactly when we had to work, who was going to be on the road, if somebody had conference calls, if one of us was working from home, or one of us had an event that we had to go to. It just made life so much easier. Now, we do have our separate calendars as well, but the one that's synced for our family means that we're walking lock and step every step of the way, so we understand when we need to schedule, whether it's somebody to babysit, whether we need to make sure we're both home for Saint's doctor's appointments. So having that calendar is very easy, and it will help out your family. Trust me, I am telling y'all, I recommend it highly. Now, you can do the Google Calendar. You also can make sure that when you're scheduling that calendar, you also do these couple of things. This is what was really interesting in this article. They said on Sundays, you should take like 15 minutes to have kind of like a powwow with your partner, with your spouse, and talk about the week ahead, like what you have on the calendar, just to check to make sure nobody added anything additional. You all were on the same page, but it's good to have that 15 minutes of check-in time, which helps you align for the week. That's something that I didn't necessarily think about, but definitely can help. So for those of you that go to church on Sundays, you come home, you have your meal, that's a perfect time when you all are eating, sitting down to do a little check-in, right? It doesn't have to be something that's really long, but taking that 15 minutes definitely will help you get aligned and ready for the week. Also, when you're doing those calendars, make sure you're carving out some time for your family. Now, you have the calendar for work that's in sync, but you got to make sure you carve out some time for the family, for you all to be able to engage and be together. And also, you also want to carve out a little time for you and your spouse. All right. So that's how you balance it all, is by both of you being able to see what you have on the calendar together, what you need to add to the calendar, and what you also can subtract. Because sometimes you'll have stuff on there on the calendar where you're like, yeah, I don't necessarily need to be at this event. I'd rather spend more time with the family. All right, so number 5, make sure you're communicating with your employer. A lot of times people get scared because you're in a job. Some people, women I know in particular, you don't want to necessarily always talk about your family because you want to show that you can get your job done, that your mind isn't somewhere else. Well, listen, your mom, at some point throughout the day, your mind probably will be somewhere else. And dads, I mean, I don't know if dads have it as much as moms, but you're always thinking about whether your child's at school, daycare, whatever. It doesn't matter. You should always communicate with your employer because you want them to know, yes, I can get my job done. But at the same time, for some of you moms who know your calendar, you know your schedule, if you feel like you're that parent that, you know what, I don't want to miss my kid's soccer game or basketball game that happens every Thursday night. So I want to talk to my employer to see if they're flexible enough where maybe I can leave early and I stay a little bit later a different day, or if I'm working from home. You have to know exactly what you're willing to give up or sacrifice for that job that will directly affect your family. So having that line of communication, I think, and being proactive can definitely help you out. And it'll not only make you a better employee for that company, but it also make you a better parent because you understand that you're putting your family values and what you need to have first. All right. So number 6, y'all, stay connected throughout the day. Now, some of you are thinking like, what do you mean stay connected? I'm at my job. I'm trying to get my job done. I'm trying to work. No way I can stay connected. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It doesn't mean that you're going to be present and you're going to be calling every 2 seconds to talk to your kids. Even if you have older kids, this is how you stay connected. The small things are what matter. Your kid, do you stick a note in their jacket or in their lunchbox? Or do you send them a text midday? Even though the kids aren't supposed to have their phones on at school, we all know some of those kids have their phones. They're sneaking, they're on their phones. But even if they don't have their phones, when they go after school to get their bag and to get their phones, they're going to see that message from mom or from dad. It just lets them know, I was thinking about you. For me, the way that I stay connected is at my son's school. They update us through this app. Every single thing that he does, from what he eats, when he sleeps, they send us pictures, his activities. That's my way to stay connected. That's my way to stay connected. Even though I know for kids, my son, Saint's 17 months, right? They don't necessarily know. You can drop them off at 6 in the morning and pick them back up at 5 in the afternoon. they don't have that sense of time that we have. Now, we know that's a long time, but they don't have that sense of time. So to them, it's like, mommy just dropped me off and oh, here she is. She's picking me back up. I've ran around and I've played for a little bit. You can stay connected. Figure out what you need. If you're looking for a daycare or a child care, make sure that's somebody that, if they're not at a daycare, if there's just somebody that's at your house, they're still sending you pictures or giving you updates throughout the day. You need that because it keeps you energized and keeps you going. So stay connected some way, somehow with your kids, with your family, if you can throughout the day. I'm telling you, it'll make you better for it. It'll keep you energized. And at some point, you'll just get that little message or that little note and it'll make you smile. Sometimes your husband or your wife may just need a text in the middle of the day. I'm just thinking about you. I love you. I hope you're having a great day. That goes a long way because they may receive it at that very exact moment they need it, whenever they just got a crazy email from their boss or from a colleague and they really want to smack somebody, but you're getting that message from somebody you know that loves you and cares about you. So stay connected. That's important. Now, number 7. You want to make sure that you are not wasting time at work. Do not waste time, all right? Because if you're communicating with your employer, you know exactly what you need to get done as far as your family schedule, and you want to make sure you can shift your schedule a little bit in order to be there for your family. You need to be efficient at work. How do you become efficient at work? Do your job. A lot of times right now, social media, a distraction. Interacting with your colleagues, talking about something that is just gossip or what happened today on this talk show or that talk show or coming in on a morning radio. If you minimize those things and focus on your job, you may see that your productivity and you're more effective may have your boss looking at you like, oh, okay, well, you can get this done. Absolutely. I'm going to work with you if you need to have Fridays off and extend your days on other days. That's how you got to play. You got to be out here playing chess, not checkers. You got to figure out what you have to do for your family. Some people just love to go into work. They love the interaction of the job, the colleagues. You're in a cubicle. This person's talking to that person and all that other stuff. I love that too, but I love that in the locker room. I love that playing sports. But all about me out here trying to secure the bag for my family, trying to make sure that we're good and that I'm able to be there as a productive, engaged mother. I have to make sure that I have strategy in front of me and that I'm executing that at my job, executing it in my family. And if you or someone is wasting my time at my job, I got to hit stage left. I got to go. That's just simple as that, because you have to make sure that you are maximizing your time and not wasting it. Number 8, you have to create this special family time for activity. All right. Figure out how you can create that special family time. Now, way you can make time is 2 different ways. One of the things in the article they talked about is making time for your kids. Making time for your kids does not always mean that we're running to Chuck E. Cheese, we're running over here to the little jumping bounce house. No, you can make time by having an imagination at your house. Does your kid like to play baseball, basketball? Does your kid just like to throw things? What age is your kid right now? If you are paying attention, you'll figure out exactly what your kid needs. Throwing money at your kid is not always the best answer. But showing that you're engaged and you care, like sometimes I'll give you an example. I'll do stupid funny faces, or I'm doing this big hand with a claw and I'm chasing after Saint and trying to tickle him because I know it makes him laugh. It doesn't cost me a dime, but it makes him laugh. It's those moments when you have to put your cell phone down and stay engaged. Because they see that, you know what, all of mommy and daddy's attention is on me for right now. Even if it's only 15, 20 minutes, that 15 or 20 minutes where you put everything else aside and you're playing and laughing with your kid, rolling on the floor, or just talking about how was school, how's life, what's going on, what's new on, what do you download, what are you listening to? All these different things, asking questions will engage with your kids. You want them to know and feel supported. You want them to know that you're there. And so I think it's important that you schedule that time in if you're one of those people that can't find time. Or if you're one of those people that feel that, oh, I multitask all the time. Multitask, I can do this, I can do that. Absolutely. I am a multitasker. I'll tell you that right now. I can do it at work. I've been able to do it while playing. I did it once I retired. I can even do it right now. I could be doing this podcast right here and still be over here answering some emails and text messages while I'm talking. But that's because it's a skill set that I've learned. But that doesn't mean that I have to do that with my child. My husband and I joke about it all the time. Not so much joke, but he give me the side eye sometimes, rightfully so, because he's a good multitasker too. And he has the ability to engage in a conversation, but at the same time, like, he can still be able to answer people on emails and doing different things on his phone. And for me, sometimes it's like, I need all that to be shut down because I need to focus to be able to articulate what I need to get out. And that's what comes into play is when you have to learn how to communicate. What's that communication? People always talk about, what's your love language? What's your communication language? How do you communicate? Do you communicate when it's very important, when you're at a job, when you're trying to get a raise and you focus, or are you showing that you're a multitasker where you're talking to your boss, but I'm still on my phone some and I still can do this? No, there's a time and place for everything. Trust me. And everybody knows when there's a time and place for what they need to be doing or what they could be doing. And I think when it comes to kids, sometimes you got to put the world aside and just focus in on them, because those younger ages are when they need that the most. Now, you also have to nurture. You have to nurture relationships, right? You have to be able to nurture your relationship with your husband, with your partner, but you also have to be able to nurture the relationship with your child. And that doesn't always mean yes, right? So I laugh all the time because parents sometimes, we don't like to hear, well, not sometimes, all the time, we don't like to hear our kids cry. So if you're out and about and your kid starts crying, you're like, hold up, let me give them something to make them stop, right? So the funny thing that's happened to me where Saint and we were out at the store and we pulled up next in the aisle, and this lady was next to us, and the baby started crying and she was making sounds. And so Saint looks up at me, looks over at the baby, and he starts making this face, and he's like, and it made me laugh because for those parents out there, the movie Door, it was like he was doing the whale sound from Door where he's like, and I looked at him and was like, if you do not stop this fake crying and these little crocodile tears, it was the funniest thing. And the woman who was next to me, she just bust out laughing. And she's like, they just know how to do that, don't they? I said, absolutely. And I'm not even paying him no attention. Right after that, I said, give it a couple seconds. Right after that, Saint went on to something else. But it was like he heard one kid cry and he wanted to join the party. I said, boy, this ain't a party you was trying to join. Mama, I don't want you joining this party right here. We're not going to be crying, just randomly crying. But of course, it's all about the communication, how you communicate, how you're talking, and how you're making sure you're spending time with one another. So you get to know each other. If I didn't spend as much time as I do with my son, I wouldn't know. I would just be like, oh no, what's wrong with him? I know what's a cry, I know what's a crocodile cry, and I know what's a I'm hungry mama cry, which we all should know. All right, so number 9, this is one of the most important ones. Should have been higher, but look, this is parentscom's list. That wasn't mine, but I love the list they put together here. Spend time with your partner. So important, all right? So important. Recently, you saw all the different articles that were out there about how parents have to spend more time with each other because your relationship, if mom and dad ain't happy, ain't nobody else happy. You have to make sure you're nurturing that relationship, making sure you're making time for one another. That's truly, truly important. So, and also check in with one another throughout the day. Sometimes it's not about, I know you're at work, I know I'm at work, but just like I said earlier, that small text of, how you doing? I'm thinking about you, love you. So important. All right. Number 10, our last one, number 10, create moments for yourself. Listen to me. Create moments for yourself. You're worth it. If you're not in a great physical and mental space, you cannot be the best mother, be the best, have the best career. You cannot achieve the things you want to achieve if you're not taking care of self. And everybody's out there now. You can read a million books. There's a lot of life coaches that are talking about it, about this self-love. I'm simply saying, take moments for yourself. the more relaxed you are, the more effective you can be. It's so important. And that means that if you need your spiritual time, if you need your relaxation time, or if you just need your mommy and daddy time, whatever you need, make sure you're taking it for yourself. All right, y'all. So before we get out of here, you know how we do it. Our take a seat, take a bow, level up, and straighten your crown. So this week, our take a seat has to go to all of the people who had a problem with folks that said, I'm with Cap, and decided not to watch the Super Bowl. That's their First Amendment right. People have the right to free speech. People have the right to protest if they don't want to engage or support something that they feel is not aligned with their values. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with anyone that decides to protest something. What I'm not okay with is people who spew out these racist and bigotry and all these other xenophobia, all those things because somebody doesn't agree with you. That's not okay. You can agree to disagree on some things, but I felt like the people who were disappointed or were trolling some of these people who decided to protest or to sit out of the Super Bowl didn't realize it was their right to do so. Let them live. All right, our take a bow this week. Our take a bow has to go to the lovely women of the House of Representatives. Again, you got to be 4 from me. You're going to get it this time because you all were beautiful and that all white and stood for something that was so empowering. Not only for the Me Too movement, for women's rights, for women equality, but for women to have a voice. And America voted you to be there and you stood up and you stood proud. And so we all were super excited for you. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It was a beautiful image seeing that many women stand up, diverse group of women stand up for what they believed in, and they now are in our Congress, and hopefully they will get some things done. Lastly, our level up and straighten your crown has to go to Ayesha Curry, Steph Curry's wife. I am just sitting over here. I am so fangirling over her mom life right now. She is getting it done. And if you're somebody that had a problem with her last article that came out where she talked about her first focus is her husband, Stephen Curry, and then her children, you are part of the problem. There's nothing wrong with a woman feeling like I have to take care of our relationship first before I can be the best I can be to my children, to my career, and whatever else. She's killing it right now. And for all you people out there talking about, well, she's only doing this because her husband, Stephen Curry. No, she's doing this because she's talented and now she's been able to have her children. And yes, it's a great resource that you have the means to be able to do some of the things you want to do, but it doesn't get you into that star power unless you're able to execute, and she's able to do that. So congratulations to Ayesha Curry. Keep killing it. All these mom life ladies out here support you, and we are definitely impressed by all that you're doing. All right, so level up and straighten your crown. And lastly, my positive note comes from social media, from Tamika Mallory, who is an activist on IG. I saw this post. She said, prayer changes things, but work rearranges things. So keep on praying, ladies and gentlemen. Pray, pray, pray. But you got to make sure you're getting up and you're doing the work, because that's going to make sure it takes us to that next level. Prayer does change things, but your work, your good deeds, that rearranges stuff. That puts everything aligned to where it needs to be. All right, so we appreciate y'all joining us on She's Got Time. For those of you out